Takeover vs. Ether, revisiting the Jay-Z and Nas beef. Last Thursday, Nasty Nas returned to the fold after a 6-year album hiatus. The 7-track Nas, produced by God Music's assembly line conductor Kanye West, was premiered at a listening party under the Queensboro Bridge. For the poet of Queensbridge to return to his old stomping grounds seemed prophetic, a moment that was enshrined amidst the blurry lights of the city on the other side of the East River. Hip-hop heads watched the mass appeal livestream in awe, as the man who had etched his name in music lore with the immortal Illmatic unveiled his 11th studio effort to the world. What should have been a triumphant return was suddenly resigned to a quiet place in the cloud when music's preeminent power couple swooped in with a surprise collaboration project that put the kibosh on the entire affair. It was as if Beyoncé and Jay-Z had shown up to the party without an invitation and promptly told everyone to go home before the clock had even struck midnight. The title of the album, Everything Is Love, is a nod to the couple's highly publicized relationship and a celebration of their renewed family dynasty. But it inadvertently felt mocking, as if Bey and Jay were holding a seminar on how to age gracefully for those unfortunate enough to draw the same release weekend. Of course, it doesn't hurt when your wife is unequivocally one of the industry's most talented individuals and a bona fide golden child. But Jay-Z once again proved his relevance, maintaining a firm grip on hip-hop's ear, and seemingly goading his former rival, Nas, with a juxtaposition of career paths that is impossible to ignore. Jay-Z has cemented his celebrity status both as a rapper and savvy entrepreneur outside of rap. He's a timeless wonder whose street hustler mentality transformed him from a businessman to a businessman. Nas is cut from a different cloth. His God-given talent has forever earned him a place in the conversation of hip-hop's greatest MCs. Still, he remains considerably less distinguished beyond the realm of music than his 2001 sparring partner, a gap that has become increasingly visible in the 17 years since their feud. This dichotomy of styles and ambitions lies at the heart of what culminated in Takeover vs. Ether, a gutsy head-to-head that brought out the best in two of the most influential rappers of all time. The 6-year build-up to the mesmerizing battle for lyrical supremacy is just as important to the tale as the main event itself. The stage was set in 1995, when Nas stood up Jay-Z at a recording session. That didn't stop Jay and producer Ski Beats, who lifted the "I'm out for presidents to represent me" from Nas's "The World Is Yours." The line was utilized as the backbone for Jay-Z's "Dead Presidents," his first single released for his debut album Reasonable Doubt. It was a song that planted the initial seed of discord. Nas was included on the track, but certainly not in a manner that met his approval. From there, the subliminal disses began to swirl. In Nas's 1996 record The Message, he slipped in an outwardly innocuous line, "Lex with TV sets the minimum." At first glance, there's not much to dissect beyond rap's ostentatious leanings, but it was eventually revealed that the line was a subtle jab at Jay-Z, who Nas had seen riding around in a Lexus outfitted with TVs. In an interview with Complex, Nas divulged that he was so irked by the image that he promptly got rid of his own Lexus and began looking for the next best thing. By the time 1997 rolled around, things were really starting to heat up. The death of the notorious B.I.G. prompted Jay to anoint himself the next king of New York. On The City Is Mine, Jay raps, "Don't worry about Brooklyn, I continue to flame, therefore a world with amnesia won't forget your name, you held it down long enough, let me take those reins." Jay-Z's self-proclaimed crowning as replacement royalty prompted a response from Nas on "We Will Survive," his ode to Biggie, on which he opted to take the higher road. It used to be fun macking records to see your response, but now competition is none now that you're gone, and these niggas is wrong, using your name in vain, and they claim to be New York's king? It ain't about that. It wasn't much in the way of a lyrical barb worthy of a response, but it proved to Nas that he had Jay-Z's attention. Memphis Bleak, one of Jay-Z's close associates at the time, released a brief assault against Nas in 1999 on "My Mind Right," saying "Your lifestyle's written, so who you supposed to be? Play your position." The Queen's rapper spied an opportunity to draw the lion out of his den for a decisive confrontation. On his 2000 Eye for an Eye freestyle, he made it impossible for Jay-Z to avoid the conflict any longer. "Yeah, all niggas all hail, the king is dead, he running like a bitch with his tail between his legs / Stillmatic, still eye for an eye, wanna be God / you and just the next rapper to die, fucking with Nas." Jay-Z's maiden performance of Takeover at Hot 97's 2001 Summer Jam concert had several memorable highlights. But it was the way that Hav ended the song that truly stole the show. With the raucous concertgoers on his side, Jay issued a bold proclamation, "Ask Nas, he don't want it with Hav, no." The gloves were off, and the bloodshed commenced. Nas subsequently released Stillmatic, freestyle, firing off shots at The Rock over a remix of Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full. Though the song touched a nerve, what with Nas labeling Jay-Z the fake king of New York and the rapping version of Cisco, it failed to create a buzz. When the full version of Takeover was released on the Blueprint, the streets of New York erupted. Jay-Z not only responded to Stillmatic, freestyle, but he also made it a point to meticulously lecture Nas on his commercial failings. The mathematical obliteration of Nas was enhanced with biting facts about his widely perceived fall from the top 10, his inexcusable lack of consistency, and his laughable financial oversights. No one expected Nas to come back from what Jay later deemed to be the inescapable figure four-leg lock. It is difficult to put into words just how damning Ether was when it hit. As if the slicing line about Eminem washing Jay-Z on his own record wasn't enough, Nas closed out the track by flipping the Takeover chorus to his advantage. It was another masterful display from the man with an unmatched skill set. It's all part of the allure of the beef, and the reason that it remains such a compelling historical chapter worth discussing. By the time that Jay-Z brought out Nas as a special guest on his I Declare War tour in October 2005, the hatchet had been buried, and two of rap's all-time greats went their separate ways. Still, the climax of their rivalry was an undeniable jumping-off point for both artists. And while both Jay-Z and Nas had a great deal to lose in their war of words to determine the best rapper alive, they could not have been on more incongruous trajectories. Jay-Z proved himself to be driven by commercial success, looking for returns on his investments and gaining headway toward his now $900 million net worth, while Nas was vastly more concerned with the intricacies of the artistic process. Ultimately, Takeover vs. Ether was the convergence of two incompatible philosophies that yielded two very different results. Nas won 2001, but Jay-Z's calculated longevity allowed him to keep winning long after the dust had settled.